Hey everyone, Torsten here from the AI Ready CMO, and today we are continuing our Teamless series, not just about marketing, but broadly speaking about Agentic AI. We believe using Agentic AI is going to be a career-defining or career-destroying skill, the lack of it, in the next couple of years. So hope you will enjoy today's video, which is about building agentic companies. If you remember our previous video, we discussed what agents are and what is the difference between talking to a chatbot and creating an agent. I will not rehash this here. Go back to the previous video. We're going to link it down below. Instead, we are going to talk about how to coordinate agents and how agentic companies are going to be built. Please understand that this is a field that is evolving extremely quickly. Today is the middle of April 2026. If you watch this towards the end of this year, likely a lot of things here will be different or maybe even outdated. So with that caveat, let's think about companies. We've all seen companies probably in our life. This is just a super simplified org chart. We are all familiar with org charts. You have someone on the top, because I imagine most of our audience are marketers. There's going to be a CMO. Under the CMO, there are going to be different teams, typically headed by directors, senior directors, VPs even. And these teams have any number of team members who are doing the actual work. Agentic companies look very, very different. And I think it's really important to understand how they are built, what are the building blocks, because thinking about agentic companies is thinking about work itself. And I believe doing an exercise where you try to understand how could you potentially get agents into your workflow helps you to think about the work, what you're doing, how it is structured, can it be structured better? So it is a very valuable exercise all by itself. Agentic companies are built from 6 building blocks. The first one is the company itself, and this might seem redundant, but remember, we are talking about agents who don't necessarily even know what the context is. So we have to define what the company is. Then there are the teams, and you can go really deep into the rabbit hole, or rather, like, you can go very wide and create a huge organization with dozens of teams. But in this example, we are going to stick to modeling a single team, a marketing team, and teams are actually completely optional, which is good because that means you can introduce agentic workflows into just one team inside the company. You do not, absolutely do not need to switch your whole company to agentic workflows. You can start very small. You can start with a sub-team of a team, and that is going to be perfectly fine. The third one are the agents themselves. We will talk about this a little bit later in a second. Then we have projects, tasks, and skills. So these are the 6 building blocks, how agentic companies are structured. And I would like to walk you through each and every one of them. Company, as I already introduced, defines the company itself, defines the goals, defines the requirements. It's very useful because agents, when they don't have enough context, can come back here and understand what they are working with. This is who you are, what are your products, what is your tone of voice, what is your brand, so on and so on. Very high level strategic documents and just general information about what the company is doing, what it is selling, how it is structured, so on. Teams, as I mentioned, is optional. You don't need to have teams, but if you have teams, they need to be defined as a collection of agents and skills. So you have different agents, you can group them into teams, you have different skills, which are very interesting, and we'll get to that in a second, and they can also be connected to a specific team or not. Then you have the agents themselves. These are the people in your org chart. So this is a single role with the instructions. This is a media buyer agent. This is a copywriter agent, and so on. Think of them as coworkers, really. And they do have a job description. They do have SOPs defined, reporting relationships defined, and they also have skills which are attached to agents. Now, I will talk just in a second about why agents and skills are different building blocks. That's important because you typically don't think about it like that. If you have a human colleague, you said, yeah, this guy is our media buyer. Obviously, he knows or she knows how to buy ads on the meta advertising dashboard. With agentic companies, your logic should be a little bit different. The agent is really about reporting relationship and the role, and skills are something multiple agents can tap into, or skills are something your agent doesn't necessarily need to use for each and every workflow because they are expensive. They are just more tokens in the workflow. Then you have projects, which is just a way to group work. This is going to be important for agent orchestration, which we will cover later. You don't need to use projects, honestly, but they can be useful. And they can be used for dynamic planning, which we will also see at the orchestration part. Then we have the task. Task is a task. So task is the job that the agent needs to carry out. They have a description, and this is often just a template. So think about it. It's a media buying task. It's a template. You need to buy ads on the meta advertising dashboard, but someone else can fill in what the targeting is going to be, what the budget is going to be. Think of it as just a fill in the blanks type of templates, but the task is still like very well defined and still something that has a clear input, a clear output, a clear deliverable. These are what agents are going to execute. Then you have skills. These are reusable, repeatable workflows. So what is the difference between a task and a skill and an agent? Let's take the example of buying meta ads. The skill here would be the actual technical implementation. So use this plugin to open the meta advertising dashboard for this company. These are the different parameters you can set up for a campaign. This is how you set up how the budget should be allocated, so on. So this is very, very operational level. Where to click, basically. These are the skills that you would teach to someone who has never done this for the first time. The task itself is to buy the ads, to set up the campaigns. You will not say in the task where to click. You will say, this is the outcome I want to see. Use whatever skills you think are needed. And the agent are the hands. So the hands are going to carry out a task using different skills depending on the circumstances. Any agents can use any skills, honestly. It doesn't need to be a media buyer who is using, for example, the campaign setup skill, which can be useful in many cases. For example, if the skill is just about how to navigate the meta advertising API, that's a very, very specific skill, then your media buyer agent can use it, but your reporting agent can use it as well. So these can come in very handy. These are not dynamic, so there's no fill in the blanks here. This is not a task. These are literally where to click. These are the skills. Now, let's see how this would look like, for example, setting up a campaign with an agentic workflow. You get a brief from the CMO. We need to launch this campaign on Meta for this audience and so on. You might give this task to a head of campaigns agent. A head of campaigns agent's probably only task here will be to write the project brief, because the head of campaigns will need to coordinate multiple agents. So the multiple agents need to refer to a single source of truth. And for that, they need a project brief. If you hear dogs barking, I apologize. From here, the document is, or the outcome is a project. It's a project that is set up. Let's call it campaign X in this example, and this project will be handed over to an agent who is going to be our campaign coordinator. This campaign coordinator is going to, again, talk to many agents to make sure that it can carry out the task. Now, you don't necessarily need a campaign coordinator agent. The head of campaigns could do the coordination as well. There are multiple ways to slice this cake. This is what I decided to do in this example. The campaign coordinator will use its skills, let's say a task specification skill, to take the tasks and fill in the blanks from the original brief that it got from the head of campaigns and that is described in the project documentation. And let's say first creates a task that is about researching the targeting options. And for this, it's going to engage another agent, which is a researcher, which is going to tap into the market research skills. Okay, I need to reach vaguely this audience. Then the agent researcher will say, okay, I can go to the meta advertising dashboard. I can look up the different targeting options, targeting by interest, targeting by location, so on. These can also all be described in the skill. And we'll create a document which is about, hey, I think we should target people in these 5 geographies and for these 8 interests. It's going to report back to the campaign coordinator, who is satisfied with the answer, going to delegate the task of writing an ad copy. For it will engage a copywriter agent who will tap into a copywriting skill. The copywriting skill will refer back to the company documents for tone of voice and for the project documentation to understand what is the product. Once it's done, the new agent, there will be a new task to create visuals. A new agent will be called in, a designer agent, which is going to use the image generation skills, also reaching back to the project documentation, reaching back to the company documentation to understand the visual language. Maybe they'll tap into the visual guidelines and so on. And finally, the final task here is going to be to set up the campaign, which is going to be done by another agent, which is a media buyer. And the media buyer will tap into a Meta MCP skills. MCP is just an API that AI agents can typically use to communicate with the outside world. This is a super simplified, believe it or not, a super simplified workflow of how something like this can be done agentically. Now, there are many lines missing here. Obviously, the copywriter agent will report back to the campaign coordinator that it's done. The designer agent will do the same. There's no human in the loop, and there should be human in the loop. So need to think about where to put human approval. That is going to be almost certainly coordinated by the campaign coordinator. So the campaign coordinator will say, hey, we have the instructions in the agent description, job description. Whenever I get back a copy, I need to ping my human and ask for approval. If it's not good, then it will send it back to the copywriter agent and so on. So again, this is very simplified. but I think it's helpful because it makes you break down your own workflows in your head, or even better on paper, and think about what can you automate, what really are the and repeatable tasks in your workflow that can be done or could be theoretically done agentically. Orchestration, very, very important. How does orchestration work? When do these things happen and what triggers them? So when it comes to orchestration, it's probably one of the fastest evolving field in AI today. There are new orchestration tools coming out seemingly every week. They are incredibly complicated to use, really just for people who understand the technology. But they are, broadly speaking, all work on some concept called heartbeats. And this is good to understand. So if we go back just for a second to this slide, a heartbeat is when the system is doing a check, the whole agentic system is doing a check every hour typically. It can be more frequent, but then maybe will cost too much money eventually. Typically every hour, the whole system runs a check. Every agent is waking up and says, is there anything for me to do? So the head of campaigns delegated the project to the campaign coordinator. Next time the head of campaign will wake up with the next heartbeat, say, is there anything to do for me? No, because the campaign coordinator hasn't reported back yet. The campaign coordinator wakes up. Is there anything to do for me? It's like, oops, yes, the researcher agent just come back to me. So I need to look up what is my next item on my to-do list. And it will realize that it is to write a task about writing the ad copy and wake up the copywriter agent. So that is how a heartbeat works. Basically, all the agents are checking if there is any work they can do or if they are waiting for the outcome or the deliverable for a task that they delegated previously. Heartbeats, that's, I think, at this point, probably all you need to know. Now, I told you that there are new tools, but they are incredibly difficult to use. But there are two tools that I would, at least one of them, I would try, even if you're not super technical. The first one is Paperclip. Now, to be transparent, Paperclip does need technical knowledge and understanding. You have to, I think, type two commands into the terminal, but after that, like that's all you need to do. And after you're done with that, you can actually use a web interface, which is the local web interface, and you can start playing around. You will need to have a subscription, either for Claude, Anthropic, or for ChatGPT, OpenAI. The smaller subscriptions work because these are the two options that Paperclip is using. I think there are other options too, but these are the two ones that are worth trying. And these are the subscriptions Paperclip will use in the background. It is somewhat user-friendly, but still kind of confusing. Very powerful, though. The second one is called Axio. Axio is from Alibaba, and it is just a desktop application. It is less powerful and less customizable, but it's much more user-friendly. This is actually the app I would try today if I were you, because it is much, much easier to use than Paperclip, even if not super powerful. In Paperclip, you can draw org charts, you can edit the job description documents of all the agents, you can edit the skills, so on, so on, so on. Axio is a little bit more of a drag and drop thing, and it comes with predefined agents that you can investigate, you can learn, or agentic systems rather, you can investigate, you can learn how they are structured, and it's overall a pretty interesting and pleasant product to use. So that's it for today. I hope this was insightful. I know this is not immediately actionable necessarily beyond going to Axio or Paperclip if you feel adventurous, but I hope it was a good thought starter just to think about your own case. What can you automate? How could you describe your own team, your own company, your own work in agentic terms? Thank you very much.